Thanks for all coming. Appreciate it. Next time we do this, we're going to have a real fireside fire here. We'll put a little plug it in electrical fire thing going, right? Make sure it looks like or have it outside. Or with the fewer crowds, maybe we'll do the bar side chat.
I like it. Do it like Rogan. We'll have cigars.
There you go. Yeah. But I want to thank you for letting us do this. Nokia does this often at events. And this is, I'm not sure how many they've done over the past little while, but it's at least a couple of dozen. And we usually like to invite a good customer of ours and talk about how this affects the actual event we're at and where does Nokia participate in it. So I'm joined here by two great gentlemen. I'll introduce you to them and give you a little background. First of all, my name is Scott McGee, and I'm the Director of Sales with network infrastructure within Nokia on the channel management team. Been in the business now for 40 plus years with companies like Lucent Technologies, so I've got some relationships to Nokia, France Telecom, AT&T, etc. So I'm joined here with Matt. Matt is the Senior Vice President of Sales at LightRiver. Shall we say an accomplished leader in telecom, if I can read directly from his page here, with a diverse and comprehensive view of networks evolving in the evolving landscape. Matt is at the helm of LightRiver's global sales and network solutions engineering teams, where he oversees both the business and technology aspects, providing customers and partners with problem-solving technology. His primary focus is empowering companies to automate, modernize, and optimize their communications networks, ensuring they stay ahead of the ever-changing industry. With over 2 decades of experience, Matt has held crucial roles in the industry, including leading Nokia optical networking business, so he was part of us for a while here in North America. He also has made significant contributions to sales and engineering management positions with us at Infinera and Ciena. So he was with Legacy Infinera for a while too, and of course our competition. Expanding businesses across multiple geographic sectors. Recognizing the rapid changes in networks driven by automation and miniaturization, Matt firmly believes in the value of having a trusted partner to navigate these transformations, especially when entrusted with managing critical communications and electrical infrastructure. Matt's passion for the industry is entwined in his background. He has a Bachelor of Engineering from the University of Oklahoma, and beginning his career back with MCI Engineering development program. He's not shaping the future telecommunications. Matt enjoys spending quality time with his family here in Heath, Texas, which is how far from here? In part of Dallas.
About an hour.
There you go. Together, they realize activities such as biking, sporting clays. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Okay, there you go. Golf and jeeping, so you don't get any strokes from me. So we welcome Matt here.
Thanks.
And Chris is the partner general manager over at Gigabit Fiber, 30-year industry, based here in, their headquarters is here in Dallas. He got his first start over at MCI WorldCom and had several stops after that in unique regional fiber providers called like On Fiber Communications. Not only was On Fiber pivotal for his career in the fiber and transport industry, that evolved him to where he is today. He continues his journey with past relationships with Zayo, AboveNet, where he had other roles there, and became part of Intercity FiberNet, which evolved into the word Gigabit Fiber into there. And we welcome you, Chris, to the table. Thank
Happy
you.
to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So we'll just jump right into a bunch of questions that I've prearranged for you guys. But Matt, give us a little bit of background just on LightRiver, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so LightRiver's been around for about 27 years, and we've evolved from a primarily hardware VAR to now a systems software design and automation company. So we work with companies like Gigabit Fiber and companies larger and smaller to help them with their transport and IP networks. So not all companies can be experts in all things, And what we have expertise in is designing and deploying and automating networks.
Okay. So with the LightRiver relationship, they're one of our preeminent channel partners in the industry. And what they do is they actually bring multiple vendors to the table, not just our portfolio, of course. We'd like them to only sell ours, but they also sell other products and services. So working with a channel management and a channel team like LightRiver helps the end user and client resolve a lot of issues in their networks. Chris, your turn. I love the name Gigabit Fiber. I think it's cool. To me, it's cool anyway. I just like, it's catchy.
It's
Kinda surprised
than Intercity Fiber.
It's intercity fiber.
I'm surprised it wasn't taken.
Huh?
I said, I'm surprised it wasn't taken. That was a good
Yeah,
name.
I mean, it should have been taken, right?
Right?
I cannot take credit for that. So thank you. As you said, the company started out as Intercity FiberNet 24, 25 years ago here in Dallas. So Dallas-based. I've been here the past 13 years, so I can speak from then. But 20-something years ago, we were buying conduit assets or pipes in the ground from companies like Looking Glass, ACSI, companies that didn't make it out of the dot-com bomb, and assembled a metro core network, connecting carrier hotels, data centers. There were data centers back then; they went away, but now they're back, passionately now. But we built a metro fiber network here in Dallas Fort Worth, 700 route miles of fiber and growing. We're 55 data centers that we built our network into. Primarily a dark fiber company up until, I would say, really past couple of years. And our first taste of lit service was probably just bookending some fibers because the customer didn't want to live it themselves. As the company continued to evolve, and really with hyperscale and AI, we knew we had to make some changes. What was being thrown at us, what was being discussed, and that's how we started the relationship with LightRiver. I will say, I'll go back to on fiber, and I think it's important because of the Infinera. That was early 2000s for me. There were two guys, Jadeep Singh and Drew Perkins, who co-founded Infinera, who also co-founded On Fiber Communications. So we were the first office to deploy boxes out in Santa Clara to turn up waves for what's known now as a hyperscale customer. But we did that for a couple of reasons, mainly to be able to deploy more waves without taking down the service for the customer. So stacking more waves on. So I think it's pretty cool to be back here today talking about something that I experienced.
Kind of like you've come around the circle, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's from a sales standpoint, you never burn your bridges. Here you go. Here's a prime example of you still work with the same customer many years later, but in a different role per se. Right. Okay, so a question for both you guys. You first, sir.
All right.
Telecom's on a rapid advancement now, very fast pace. It seemed to have, it got going, it slowed down. Now it's like with the advent of AI, it's really starting to take off, right? So how does Gigabit Fiber see this growth, particularly in the Dallas area or other markets? And what are you seeing, and how can LightRiver and Nokia help you respond better for the support you need to your clients?
Yeah, it's a great question. I look around, we've all got some years of experience here. Nothing that we did that was industry standard, 10, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago, applies to what we're seeing today and what's coming. Meaning, a couple examples. I love building fiber network. I think that's definitely one of our core competencies at Gigabit Fiber. Everybody put 3 conduits in the ground, right? Plenty enough conduit. Maybe you put a 288 or a 432 count backbone cable in, and you were good to go for infinity. Not true now. We're putting in the demand that we're seeing, specifically being driven by hyperscale and AI. We're putting in 10 to 20 to 35 conduits in the ground, and we're all buried fiber. We have no aerial. But just to answer and bet on what's coming in the future, because we've already had to go back and build it a second time before. We don't want to do that a third time. But it's not just about the fiber. I think gigabit fiber is in a very unique position because we're actually building the fiber. So we've got the layer 0, and then we're engaging partners like LightRiver to help us. Where because again, we're pretty good at building fiber, but not so good. Didn't have the expertise at running a lit service or a managed service network. That's where Matt's been, and his team has been able to help us. And, we're seeing things, where a customer may buy an insane amount of fiber from us, and the next thing they ask for, or, 10, 20, 30, 400 gig waves, not on the fiber we just sold them, but they want us to provide it and everything. So that's where we've really leaned on LightRiver to help us, deploy this, to think outside the box and really just go on a crazy town ride,
Right.
see where it takes us.
So just to add on to that, before I come to you, Matt, but would you classify yourself as an alternate fiber provider compared to people like a Lumen or another carrier? And how do you pick your paths compared to what they have done in the past?
So we are not a household name by any means. We have to go out and scrap and educate the customers to what we do. Alternate access, that could be diversity. So sure, we could be a second or tertiary provider and solve either diversity issues, maybe speed to market. Again, leveraging a smaller company to be able, I say run circles around the big guys, but it could be speed to deployment. It could be a number of things, and I'll get into why we were selected by a hyperscale for the solution that we brought to the table a little bit later. But it could be a number of things. Yeah, we could be an alternate access provider.
Okay. Well, speed to market's important. Absolutely. So Matt, kind of the same question to you, your thoughts. But how does that evolve around you as a channel partner to Nokia, but also a provider of multiple vendor products in the market?
Yeah. So I think the big shift we've seen in the last 3 years is the thing fueling the market went from 5G rollout to AI data center. I mean, everybody's seen it, everybody's felt it. There are really 7 or 8 companies in the world fueling the entire market right now. And it's from the vendors directly to who your resellers are reselling to who your customers are selling to. 80% of the money flowing in the market is coming from 7 companies. And so we're all chasing the same thing. So you've got to pick your niche of what you're good at, where you can add value. For gigabit, it's fiber density in Dallas, right? They've probably got some of the best fiber density and location density in Dallas of anybody.
Oh, good.
So that's a good place for them to compete. For us, we can get in and build networks and get out of the way, if that's what a customer needs, right? We can also, help them or manage them for a while. We can do a build, operate, transfer over a year, 3 years, 5 years. But we're seeing, like you said, not just 400 gigs or multi 400 gigs, but now hundreds of terabits between sites that customers are asking for. The scales are, we always say the scale is unimaginable to what it used to be, and I know we sound really old when we say that, but we're working on a system right now that's 400 terabits between 2 locations. And it's not even one of the top companies that you would think it is. It's a tertiary company, which kind of blows my mind. But
well, one of the fortes of LightRiver is what you call FBN, factory-built networks, right?
Yep.
So you can, tell us a little bit about that so people understand what FBN really means to them.
Sure. So what we've done is over the last 15 to 20 years, as we were deploying systems for companies, we looked at two things. One, what frustrates our customers, and two, what costs us money. And the really short answer is staying in the field too long. So we've built a process that the entire goal of the process is to keep our people out of the field. So by doing that, we do everything we can in-house. So we've built what's more or less a data center floor, and we call it a factory. And we build fiber, test, provision, label, burn in the systems there, do all of our factory acceptance testing. We can bring people out and train the people who are going to take the system over when we leave in this confined space where I have multiple subject matter experts. I have multiple spares of cards. I have lots of tools. I have lots of cleaning supplies. I have everything you could ever need to turn up a system. And then when the system's fully built and it's running well and it looks exactly what we want it to look like in the field, we basically put it on standby, put it in crates, take it out to the field, plug it in, power it, plug in the line-sign fibers, and leave. So our goal is to get in and out of a site in under 3 hours. By doing that, we can almost always keep a project on time and on budget. Our customers are happy. It makes the systems from the vendors look really simple, because if anything happens to happen while we're working on a system, nobody ever sees it but us. You know, you're never standing in someone's POP at 2 in the morning troubleshooting a new piece of software that your guy didn't load correctly or goes into a different folder this release than it did last release, and it's not necessarily a bug or a problem, it's just new. So nobody knew how to do it. You never run into any of those things in the field.
Yeah, like you might have the plug in the wrong
port.
Which makes life easier for you as the end customer. You know, it's kind of like a, whew, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I mean, that's what they've helped you with. Okay, yeah. Cool. Well, Chris, back to you. Gigabit Fiber has recently added a little more wavelength services to your portfolio. You know, what's the reason for that? And I'm kind of curious compared to the dark fiber path you were on, and is that because of the AI changing in the marketplace within the data centers per se, or can you comment on that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the data centers are definitely driving the hyperscale, driving the AI.
Right.
You know, there's some of the AI and hyperscale do it directly, but, you know, we were seeing that dark fiber wasn't going to solve, you know, everything. I'll give you an example in high level. You know, we had a customer that wanted their own 864 count metro fiber cable connecting sites together. Well, like high-fiving, you know, that's one of the greatest wins, victories. We're going to go out and build this 90-mile network for them. But wait, it wasn't over. We also want, you know, 32 400 gig circuits. And, you know, we're like, oh shit, you know, phone a friend. So, you know, in all fairness, their relationship started probably a year previously, you know, with trying to figure out how we were going to standardize on a platform. We had an IP platform, but how we were going to standardize on a next-gen platform. You know, we did okay with 10 and 1 gigs and everything, right? You know, no big deal there, but we were seeing hundreds, 400s, talks of 800 gig coming. So, you know, LightRiver walked us through, you know, I think we actually headed down a different path originally, and, you know, you guys came back and said, hey, let's talk about this, and it was the GX platform. And it was also the factory built, you know, network that really just drove the nail in it for us. So, you know, there's a lot of things that LightRiver brought to the table. I like to think they relocated to Richardson because of us.
To support you
but,
guys.
You know, from California, but that's probably not true. But it was just truly the partnership and trying to help keep us focused and talk us off a ledge and, you know, address some incoming customer needs. And the needs became real, you know, 32 400 gig circuits that needed to be turned up in 30 days. And we had yet to receive a single, you know, chassis yet. So again, these guys helped us, really pull off a miracle. We built a lateral into a data center, provision, LightRiver had already provisioned, in fact, tested, did everything, had it ready to go, crated up, came from, Concord to Dallas, and we were literally deploying it the next day into data centers, and we turned up 32 400 gig waves, fully tested in 28 calendar days, which the customer was just blown away. And, we have standardized on the GX platform to deploy, throughout the data centers here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market and other markets that we're in. And we just see that box continuing to be a workhorse as we build a long-haul network, same box. So, I'll go on and take a couple of steps further. I mean, there were several things that LightRiver brought to us, and past week they've been in our office training our operations guys. I mean, just really there to support us. And so one, Matt, I'm really appreciative, but I just see this being a great relationship. And we're seeing more and more requests come, not just from that one customer, but several other customers, and it seems to follow suit. They want a handful of dark fiber for whatever reason they're doing with it, but they also want out-of-band circuits, DIA circuits, they want dedicated internet, and they want multiple terabytes on multiple paths. And being able to answer that demand, I mean, it's just, we're a rock solid solution.
Well, perfect. Well, I know the LightRiver's delivery is going to be a little shorter for you.
Yes.
Because their new facilities are moving into the Richardson area in Dallas. So it'll be a little closer to you now rather than Concord. So you can ask for 2 days quicker delivery now from.
And you guys probably don't know it, but the Nokia lab in Richardson's probably going to be talking dedicated to LightRiver's, via gigabit fiber.
There you go.
So.
Well, which actually brings me, to kind of my next question for you. You've been building out in the Dallas market, and you probably are looking at other markets. But I was reading up some information on Blue Owl Investment, and who is part of your investment organization towards gigabit fiber. So what's on the horizon for the company now? Like, is it new markets? Is it focusing all in one area, or can you give us a little idea of how the Blue Owl investment is going to help you grow gigabit?
So the transaction came out of really a unsolicited offer from a third party to buy us, and to go out and do diligence. We hired Bank Street to go out and shop us and see if we should do a transaction or not. We were independent, financially solid, debt free. A lot of companies can't say that.
That's good.
Just to again, all this AI and the demand, we knew that we were going to have to really force multiply to keep up with it and be successful. So. We selected Blue Owl. We sold them 51% of the fiber business. We were really just looking for somebody to throw gas on the fire and let us go. And they, that's exactly what they did. We started in another market in El Paso, and I never really thought I would be in El Paso, Texas, building fiber. But we started that about a year and a half ago for a customer. Just brand new, network, multi-conduit network. And 2 weeks ago, Oracle announced Stargate 2 was going to El Paso. They actually call it the Borderplex, so the border of El Paso and New Mexico. So we're going to continue to get denser in that market. In fact, we feel like we, set up for success there already. We're going to continue to get denser in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. Austin, San Antonio. We're building a border crossing into Mexico right now out of McAllen. So we see, building the network straight down I-35. Again, what was put in the ground 30 years ago or even 10 years ago, is it going to meet the demand, whether it's a region site or the number of conduits that you put in the ground. So we think that's natural for us, is to continue to develop the Texas market to address, AI hyperscale needs. I've also brought on a sales executive to build an enterprise sales team to go after strategic enterprise, because we feel that's with the data center presence that we have, that's very relevant, and also being able to answer the bandwidth needs with the GX platform. So Texas, New Mexico, definitely on our radar.
So with that, I guess we should thank you and LightRiver for part of the press release that recently came out this past week with Nokia and LightRiver and yourselves. So thank you very much for supporting that. I'm going to hopefully it doesn't battle the two of you, but what is it about your relationship with LightRiver that excites you the best? I know they've been doing all this kind of work with you, the GX. Is it just to use the terminology, a single throat to choke kind of opportunity? So if something goes wrong, you can go to Matt and say, let's go fix this. I'm just sort of curious, why you selected LightRiver. I know it's personal reasons, because you've known each other for a bit of time now. But can you get a comment on that for me?
Yeah, so no, it wasn't a throat to choke. It was more a partner at the table, that could help us navigate,
right,
that side of the house.
Okay.
Help us be, try to get ramped up to be experts. But again, we went down a couple of different paths before we landed on the GX platform. Mm-hmm. And that was solely, Matt and his team, just, helping coach us and really help us, talk us through off the ledge. But, they're there. Even better, they're going to be, local to us. So yeah. We think they're a partner that can help us on a lot of fronts. You mentioned the software side. But we're a company of 43 people, so force multiply. Yeah, we rely on partners so much.
Okay, yeah. And how does LightRiver then respond to providing better services or other things? Like, what's your crystal ball for a group like Gigabit? I mean, there's probably other alternate providers across other ports in the United States, right? Did you see any of these providers offering different types of services, or is it similar to what?
Yeah, I mean, every company is unique, right? And that's one of the things that we really look at is, like Chris said, we want to be a force multiplier. So if we're working with a company and they're really set on a specific architecture and they know what they want to do, well, then they don't need our help with that. We can help them implement that vision. Maybe they don't have a large deployment staff and we can go in and speed up their deployment. Maybe they don't have guys to write customized APIs. We have a software team in New Jersey that can help them with that. In Chris's case, they have really, really good dark fiber construction guys. They had a really strong IP group. They didn't have a really strong wavelength services team because it wasn't a huge offering that they had. So we were able to come in and just act like almost an outside consultant, but really part of his engineering and architecture team. And we were able to walk with him, well, what is it you really want to do? And when it got down to it, they wanted to exploit their dense fiber connectivity to 12 large data centers in Dallas and offer ubiquitous wave services to all 12 of them, right? You want 100 gig, 400 gig, 800 gig, doesn't matter. We turn them up in a short period of time to any of these sites. And so we helped them come up with an architecture and a platform using the GX that would allow them to do that really well. As we went in, the guys on Chris's engineering team want to be very self-sufficient. They're very bootstrap kind of guys. So, we went in and did their first deployment for them, started training them on their second deployment. And, if they're not busy and overtasked, they may very well do their next deployment themselves. We'll set it up in the factory, we'll get it ready to go, we'll ship it to them. They may not need our help anymore on that portion, which is great. But again, we're here to force multiply. So anything that they may need that relates to this network or these services, we can help them provide.
Well, I hear a knowledge base of optical transport within the LightRiver knowledge base, if you will,
Yeah.
which I think is important for a lot of companies who are maybe only in the IP space,
Yeah.
right? Where they, like you said, Chris's team knew more on the IP space, but not as much on the optical transport space. By you bringing your expertise to that table, it solved a problem for what he really needs in the marketplace.
Right, and it allows his guys to start to ramp up without having to stumble through making their own mistakes, right? They can learn from other mistakes that we've seen in the industry and help them get off on a very accelerated footing so they can hit the ground running, start offering, like you said, 400 and 800 gig services, and they can turn up in less than a month.
So with your offerings, Chris, it's to these, shall we say, data centers or AI type environments. Are your offerings complete? Are you missing anything, do you think?
Only what we
Are
don't
they-
know. Only what we don't know yet.
Only what you
hasn't come
don't
out,
know yet.
right? We got to be able to pivot. If we can make it, work and it generates revenue, it's a yes for us. But no, I think having, and I'm going to back up just a minute to what Matt said. So the original engagement was not customer focused. It was about a deployment within the metro to standardize on a platform. It was probably 3 or 4 months into that that we started seeing some real requirements, start to raise and, hey, gigabit, is this something you guys think you could do? If so, how many waves can you do? 4 a month, deliver 400 gig waves a month till you hit all 32, and we're gonna do all and everything. And that's when we were able to pivot, and their team really, designed it to fit the customer needs. And now secondary, we're deploying all throughout the metro, the GX platform. So again, classic example, we didn't know what we wanted. They were able to pull it out and help us compartmentalize how to deploy this correctly.
And
So yes, I think we're much better positioned now until we get the next thing, the next new thing that comes down.
And I think that's another end result of working with a good qualified channel partner that understands multiple technologies, right? So they can they don't just sell one thing, they sell multiple things. They have knowledge base in multiple segments. And so hence your question was, what do you really need, right? And then once you really found out what your need was, then you could help resolve all that.
Yep.
So perfect. So what's next on the horizon for Gigabit? Where are you guys going to go next? What's going to happen for you next?
I think we're going to Abilene, building from Dallas to Abilene, Dallas to San Antonio. We'll continue to get denser and start to fill in the metro in between Austin, San Antonio, Temple.
That's in addition to the 700 miles of fiber you already have in place here,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And these are large bundles of fiber.
We're 35 conduits diversely is what we're putting in between downtown Dallas and South Dallas. South Dallas, for people that aren't here, I mean, it's like a mini Ashburn, Virginia. It's just being converged by data center and hyperscale, because that was really the last area in Dallas-Fort Worth that had land and hopefully going to have plenty of power. So I think there's upwards of maybe 20 developers. Compass Data Centers was the first one to anchor in with about 300 acres. These are massive campuses that are consuming fiber. And we didn't build it big enough 4 years ago.
There you go. Well, just as a final comment, then I'm going to ask anybody if they got any questions. But Matt, you've been a long-standing partner with us, formerly with myself with Infinera for well over 20 years, and with that, at least that amount of time with the Nokia team as well, and other vendors. I mean, you represent an enormous vast of of optical transport companies, which differentiates you from other channel resellers that only may be selling one or two, or you actually can represent and qualify and present multiple versions to your end customers. But what do you think your company keys to success will be now with moving LightRiver forward? And what do you need from Nokia per se?
Keys to success. That's what my board keeps asking.
Keys to success. And it's revenue, right?
Yeah, right. Revenue fixes everything.
Revenue fixes everything, yeah.
I think it's funny. I told my sales team in January, we went and asked our customers what they wanted, and then we built services around that. It's really not that hard. If you know who your clientele are and who your partners are, go out to them and ask them what they need help doing, right? Just talk to your customers, figure out what they need. I mean, we've launched several different, what we call day two services. So typically LightRiver designed networks, deployed networks, and then we got the heck out of town. If you needed another network, call us, we'll come back. What we find out is when we came back is those networks weren't always in great shape that we had deployed a couple of years ago. So we started talking to our clients about, well, what can we do to help you make this network perform? What are the things that are hard for you to do? And it was things like upgrading the EMS. Because if you only do that once a year or once every 18 months, and you've got to have a Linux Red Hat guy who's not normally on your team, it's like a 3 or 4 week thing. You got to learn how to do it, and you got to test it, and it's a big pain. But I can hire a guy to go do it for 10 people, and that's all he ever does. So it's really easy for him to do. And then we're in there and we're updating the network. So that was one of those things that was a really easy service for us to implement that lots of our clients have signed on for now. That, you know, we'll come back in 2 years now, and your network's not 2 years behind on software and security updates, and, you know, nobody's looked at how things are running on the server and if it'll even do what you want it to do now, right? We're in there every quarter doing security patches and upgrading once a year. So I think just continuing to talk to our clients, listen to our clients, and then craft our services and solutions around what they say. I mean, they know what they're good at and what they're not good at. They don't need me to do things they're really good at. They need me to help out where they aren't.
Well, maintaining that customer relationship, right?
Yeah.
Not just at the sale, but post-sale, and continue it even from a maintenance standpoint is important. They may have a maintenance agreement and do get the software updates, but do they actually
Exactly.
deploy
Having
it?
access to the
Do they actually
software
do
and
it?
deploying the software are two different things.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's a very strong point, because especially nowadays with all the infiltration and to people's networks and tearing them down and people stealing stuff, et cetera, off the internet, it's important to have that, whether encryption or security and maintenance, all up to snuff. I appreciate it. Well, I want to thank you, both of you, for joining us
no
for
problem.
a little chin wag, as I can call it.
Thank you for
But I'd
hosting.
like to open the floor to anybody who has any questions for Chris or for Matt, please, at all.
I'm going to, reduce the social pressure here. Matt's the one in the middle. Right?
Yeah.
Chris is the one on the right. I looked it up to make sure I didn't get it wrong. I have a question that could honestly go to either of you. And it's one that I've encountered working in data centers. And that is, there's certain advice or guidance I might provide to somebody, whether it's design or technology, if they're building something new. And then there's always stuff that I encounter when I'm walking into a data center that already exists, where I'm like, boy, if I had been here at the beginning, I might have told you to use BGP instead of OSPF, or maybe use single mode instead of multi-mode or something like that. Is there any advice that you encounter, or these types of information, like just if only you had been there at the beginning, you might have told somebody to do something differently in their design or planning when they were actually setting up their data center that would facilitate the type of services that you deliver?
Ooh, there's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. So what I would say from a data center interconnection and transport network side, what I would say is generally the equipment you're putting on your fiber is the least expensive part of your network. That's not the place to try to save money. Spend a little more and buy something that's well tested, well respected, has a name of a company that's well supported, that your clients all know, and has the capabilities you need that will hopefully carry you at least 3 to 5 years into the future.
So you're saying the stuff that gets plugged into it. And I'm not trying to tease like a Nokia answer out of you as much as I'm thinking just like what I read into the tea leaves on that is that you don't want the failure point to be the budget hardware that you bought when you're spending all this money on the optical network. Put the premium gas in the sports car.
Yeah, or that, or even have your client that you put on the hardware call you in 6 months and say, hey, I'm seeing issues, and there's not a really great system for you to log into to figure out what's going on. Right.
If only you had some sort of visibility product that you sold to solve those types
If
of
only.
problems. Huh? Chris, any insights from your time doing this?
Think big. You plan for capacity, whatever, you need to quantify that. I mean, because we're seeing 34, 56 count fiber just from rack to rack in a data center. That's outside of our scope, but I mean, between racks, that's how much. I mean, so it's mind-boggling. I mean, capacity is, again, we're the smallest expense of a data center, the transport side. So don't skimp.
Yeah, think big, I like that, but also, pay as you grow kind of concept, right, is important for people that need to get to the big stuff, because tomorrow they'll say, I should have. And
Right,
then they
yeah.
have to
Leave yourself headroom,
reinstall, and
right.
I should have.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Leave yourself the headroom to grow, definitely.
Leave yourself the headroom, good idea. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Here.
Yeah, I got a question. It's Matt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I came from the VAR space, and your model is really intriguing to me because I haven't seen that before. Like the idea of
Right.
pre-building the environment in a warehouse. Like, so how did you guys come to that? It's a great solution. I'm just wondering how you guys came to that.
So we really started looking at when did our clients get aggravated with us? What caused them to get aggravated? What projects were we not making money on? What caused us to lose money on the projects, right? And it's 90% of all of that is having people in the field doing nothing, right? Because if you're doing an installation, 90% of your cost is time, right? It's a time game. The faster you move, the more money you make, the happier your client is. And so we started taking everything that would happen in the field, right? If you have a card go bad in the field, well, you're down for a day. Best case, the day, right? You got to pull the card, you've got to go somewhere, you got to ship it off to an RMA, you got to wait to get another card back, you got to go back to the field, then you start over. So you just lost a full day, and now you're behind. Well, if you take care of all of that in a facility where you have a shipping receiving crew and you have all their spares, if a card fails, you're down for like 30 minutes. You go take it back to the shipping guy, say, hey, RMA this for me. You go grab a card out of the spares depot or spares pile, you plop it in, and then you move on. Same thing as if you're configuring a shelf and you run into something that the guy who's configuring it doesn't know what to do next. It's not the prompt he was expecting on the screen. It's a new version of software. The vendor changed something, didn't tell anybody. Well, if he's in our factory, he's got 7 other people around him where he can throw up a flag and say, hey, come look at this. What's going on here? And they can figure it out, right? You get 4 or 5 engineers together, it's amazing what they can figure out. You get one guy by himself with limited internet access in a shelter, good luck. So we really built it around that. And it even goes down to really silly non-technical things. Like when we shrink wrap something to send it out, it's shrink wrapped in bright white LightRiver logoed shrink wrap. Because about twice a year, the guy at the cross-dock will tell you your stuff's not there. And if I can look into his warehouse and my pallet's strobing like a bright light because it's the only white shrink wrap thing there, and it's got my logo on it, so I know nobody's cut into it, right? So it's just, there's about 40 or 50 small little things that we looked at that, okay, this delayed us getting this done on time for our client. How could we fix that? And okay, a logoed shrink wrap's one way. It's harder to lose something if your name's on it really big, right? So there's just, over 20 years, a lot of different procedures we put into place. And it's interesting, most of our vendors and even some of our competitors have gone to this model where we're going to use low-cost specialty people, right? You'll have one guy go out and do a site survey. You have another guy go out and install the shelf. You'll have a third guy go out and slot all the cards, put the fiber in, then you call a really smart guy like Martin here on the phone, have him log into the box, provision everything, and test it. And the thing we see that you lose there is you lose ownership of the project. So we went extreme the other way and went to an extreme ownership model that as soon as someone like Chris hands us a PO, he gets a project engineer who was in his site last week training his people. That's the same guy that approved the design that Martin here helped us put together and said, yep, we agree this will work. We'll take ownership of this. And that same guy ran the project all the way until it was done. So we have a little bit of an old school unique model, but it works. And we have clients we've had for 20 years because they know if we say we're going to have something done, we'll have it done.
That's probably chapter 1. Right? So you probably can get them talking on a few more benefits to what they do.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, I'd like to thank you very much,
Thank you,
Mr.
Scott.
Briley,
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Degelia, for joining us from Gigabit. And thank you for participating in our little fireside chat. We have a little gift for you to take here on your way out the door, and thank you very much.